Shaham Anagrinami Holishe Tadinam Shanai. Okay, we are ready to go. We just check to make sure that the streaming is working. Yes. Okay, let's get the guitar, and then we will chant by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. All right, let's see. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see, what are we going to chant today? Oops. Okay, sung by Narottam Das Thakur. Vaishnava Gosai Patita Vanadoma Vinege Unai Evaro Karuna Koro Vaishnava Gosai Patita Pavana Toma Vineke Ona Jaharani Kategile Bapadureya Hey Mona Joyala Prabhu Kepakodapai Gangarapura Sahoyre Ashate Avan Nashune Pavitra Goro Etoma Ranga Gangarubura Saruire Paschate Pavan Dashune Vitra Goro Etomara Haristane Aparade Tare Hare Naro Tomastane Aparade Nai Maricha Haristane Aparade Tare Hare Naro Barade Naipa Vidrakan Tomara Vittoria Sana Novenavishra Govindago Ainamora Vaishnava Tomara Doyasada Govinavishra Govindago Ainamora Vaishnava Rati Janme Koryasha Sharane Ratune Naratama Kora Doya Nara Rati Janme Koryasha Charanera Dove Narotama Kora Doya Agatnara Mole Ebago Guruna Goro Vaishnava Go Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Paravidikacharya, also Teta, Satashi Shimad. It's divine grace. Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai. Param Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Maturanam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Devi Ki Jai Samabhava Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Budale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachani Nivasesa Srinivadi Paschatej. Read the translation. O Vaishnava Goswami, please be merciful to me. Now, there is no one except you who can purify the fallen souls. Where does anyone find such a merciful personality by whose mere audience all sins go far away? One becomes purified after bathing in the waters of the sacred Ganges many times. But just the sight of you purifies the fallen souls. This is your great power. The holy name delivers one who is offended, Lord Hari, but if one offends you, there is no means of deliverance. Your heart is always the meeting place of Lord Govinda, and Lord Govinda says, the Vaishnavas are in my heart. Or the resting place, not meeting place. I desire the dust of your holy feet in every birth I may take. Please consider Narottama yours and be kind upon it. Narottama Das Thakur Ki Jai. So now we're going to go again to the Jaiva Dharma. A very exciting book by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, let's go. Om Gana Timirandasya Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master's divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And here we go. All right. We're sharing the screen. So yesterday we were talking about Shuddha Sattva and also mixed Sattva. Sattva means goodness. Shuddha Sattva is the nature of the material world. Spiritual, sorry. The nature of the spiritual world, the Chit Shakti. Let's see. Why is it? Okay, so we taught the last paragraph. We just read that first paragraph. It's on the screen. In contrast, the Shura Jiva, that means the pure soul, is Shuddha Sattva. His form, qualities, and actions are by nature and pure goodness. However, when the Shura Jiva, it's us, is imprisoned by Maya, the illusory energy, his pure energy is contaminated by Maya's illusory potencies in the form of the material modes of Raja and Tama. Thus, the materially conditioned Jiva is said to be in the status of Mishra Sattva, mixed goodness. And some are just in the platform or status of Rajas or Tamas, or mixed Rajas. So, yeah, without any sattva, everyone has to have a little sattva, because without any sattva, they'd be dead. There wouldn't be any consciousness. So at least there has to be a 1/10 of 1%. So, but what we described yesterday was that when one tries to enjoy this material world in the quote mode of goodness, there's still the conception of me trying to enjoy this passion. Like you enjoy a beautiful, we gave the example yesterday, beautiful sunset, a beautiful sunrise, a beautiful flower. Unless you're looking at that flower and thinking, oh, it's beautiful, I want to offer it to Krishna. That is not Mishra Sattva. But if you're just enjoying it and it's not offered to Krishna, that's Mishra Sattva, even though it's a flower. That's right, even though it's a beautiful sunflower. Unless you're thinking of pleasing Krishna. So the difference is, oh yeah, here's the point. Unless everything you see, you're thinking of engaging in Krishna's service, then it's Mishra Sattva. Goswami said, your explanations are very subtle indeed. Because here, Goswami is asking Vijay Kumar to explain these things, to test him. Now tell me, how is the heart of the jiva enlightened by Shuddha Sattva? Oh, how do we become enlightened? Vijay states, as long as the jiva, that's the individual soul, is captivated by this material world, the brilliance of his Shuddha Sattva nature is curbed by the residual opacity, what a beautiful expression, of mundane conditioning. Conditioning means, that life after life, we have these impressions or dirt thrown on the subtle body. And that's the conditioning. We're conditioned to do things. Just like there was a great psychologist. His name was Pavlov. And he conditioned dogs to do different things when they heard a bell. I'm not going to tell you what he conditioned them to do because it's not very nice. But anyway, when they heard a bell, they were thinking it's food time, because previously he gave them food, and now he didn't give them food, and they were still salivating. Sorry, I revealed what it was. So we have been conditioned in the same way to, insofar as our attraction to Maya. Krishna gives us, or Maya gives a little taste, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita. It's like nectar in the beginning and like poison at the end. But then, because we're conditioned, we keep doing it. It's called punak, punas, char, vitachar, vadanam. We're chewing that which is already chewed. Yet the jiva may realize his swarup, his real nature, form. Skinner, yes, behavioral psychology, B.F. Skinner, that's right. This B.F. Skinner was actually the person. Yet the jiva may realize his swarup in proportion to the arising of his brilliant Shuddha nature. However, the uncovering of his Shuddha nature cannot be achieved through the pursuit of either karma or jnana. In other words, work in this world, or jnana, that means just acquiring knowledge, even about spiritual things. Can dirt be cleansed by another form of dirt? Mundane karma is by its very nature contaminated. How can it remove material impurities? Moreover, jnana, that is just mundane knowledge or desire for liberation, is like fire. For it is, if it is applied to a contaminated object, it not only burns the impurity, but also the object itself, attempting to nullify the object's fundamental existence. So in other words, the desire for mukti destroys everything. Therefore, how can jnana provide the joy that comes from being purified? By the mercy of Guru, Krishna, and the Vaishnavas, the jiva can attain or obtain bhakti, which alone can invoke the Shuddha Sattva, the pure mode of goodness lying dormant within his heart. Lying dormant. There's that expression again. That's the nature. It's lying dormant. Yes, it's our nature. It's lying dormant, but it was there before. When Shuddha Sattva is awakened, it will illuminate the heart with pure transcendental light. Goswami said, "My son, truly it is a pleasure to instruct a fit candidate like you. Do you have any further questions?" Vijay asked the question, "Gurudev, you earlier described the 4 types of nayakas." So, of course, nayaka refers to Krishna. Nayaka refers to Radharani, just masculine, feminine. Dhiro Dhata, Dhira Larita, Dhira Shanta, and Dhiro Dhata. Which of these is Krishna? So this is described in Nectar of Devotion too, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Goswami said, Krishna can play all these roles. Whatever slightly contrary and distinctive bhavas that may exist between each of these different nayakas are all perfectly harmonized within Krishna. In other words, generally one has only one of those qualities, but Krishna has all those qualities and they're harmonized within him because he is the embodiment of all ras, in all tastes, and endowed with achintya shakti, inconceivable energy. These apparent disparities are present by his own arrangement. Besides these 4 unique personality traits, Krishna is embellished by another mysterious feature that is known only to extraordinary, rare personalities. Maybe we shouldn't talk about those things, because you're all not rare. So Vijay asks, Gurudev, you had showered your mercy without any reservation, so kindly let it flow further, even referring to this topic. As Vijay Kumar spoke, he was overwhelmed with intense emotions. He fell down at Srila Gopal Guru Goswami's feet, bathing them in his tears, deeply moved Srila Gopal Guru Goswami bent down and embraced him, and their tears mingled. Srila Goswami then sat back silently. His voice was choked up, and he was unable to speak. Finally, in a faltering voice, he said, in Vittoria Ross, Krishna assumes two distinct roles as Nayaka, Pati, husband, and Upapati, paramour. I think you understand what that means. You know, in other words, Krishna is married to certain ladies, especially in Dwarka, and Upapati, he has this unmarried relationship with the gopis in Vrindavan. Vijay Kumar says, Gurudev, Krishna is our eternal pati, so why is he called an Upapati? Goswami replies, this is very confidential knowledge, is shrouded in profound mystery. Transcendental affairs are like rare, sparkling gems of magnificent mystery, and the crest jewel, Kaustubha Madi, amongst them, shining with an intense aura, is Parakya Bhav, the paramour mood of Vittoria Ross. Vittoria Ross means the conjugal relationship. Parakya means the relationship between someone who is not married to someone else. Okay, you got it. That's above or beyond normal relationships. Vijay said, in Vittoria Ross, the pure devotees serve and love Krishna as their pati. What is the purport of worshipping him as one's upapati? When the Paratattva, the supreme truth, supreme absolute truth, well, that's what it says, is asserted as exclusively impersonal, rasa necessarily has to be excluded from his nature along with his personality. In other words, if you say God is impersonal, that means there's no taste there. It's just a negation. He has no variety, which is wrong, or it may be right from another perspective, because God has one aspect of himself, the Brahman, where there's apparently no variety, although there is variety, and then another aspect which is personal, and the personal aspect is superior. Vedic truths such as the statement in the Chandogya Upanishad 8.13.1, Rasavai Sa, that supreme absolute truth is the personification of all ras, become meaningless and denied, that is, if one's an impersonalist. The impersonal aspect of the supreme is insipid, lacking in luster and spiritual bliss. However, as Krishna's personal feature unfolds before his devotee, ras is increasingly manifest, because ras, the taste, is the principal aspect, is the personal aspect of the Paratattva, Higher, supreme truth. Paratattva means supreme truth, or the highest truth. Higher than the impersonal aspect of the Paratattva is the personal aspect of the supreme absolute being, which is what I mentioned before. Initially, this personal aspect appears in the role of Ishvara, the supreme controller. That is the object of Shantaras. Remember, we talked about the rasa. Shantaras means just to passively adore the Lord as the controller, the proprietor, and all those other things, which is true. He is the controller. Ishavashamidam Savram Yakincha Jagajan Jagat. Taina Jaktina Bunjana Magradha Krishna. He's the proprietor and owner. Still above this feature of the supreme controller is his personality as Prabhu, Lord and Master. That is the object of Dasha Ras. So in other words, first, God is great, then I'm his servant. Thus Ras expands gradually from Dasha to Sakya. He's my friend. To Vatsalya. I have to care for him, because he's accepting service in that mood. And from there to Madhurya, Krishna is my lover. And within Madhurya Ras, the conjugal relationship, the Parakya paramour mood is superior. That means Krishna is my boyfriend, is superior to the Swakya Bhava, Krishna is my husband. married mood. There are two other aspects of Krishna as Purusha. Atma Rama, completeness and self-satisfaction, and Para Ramata, enjoyer of these separated expansions and energies emanated from himself. Well, this is really interesting. Yeah, so, Krishna is Atma Rama, just to shorten that word. It means he takes pleasure in himself. And Paratma means that he takes pleasure in things other than himself. Or, because anything other than himself, in one sense, comes from him. So, in the Atma Rama aspect, the enjoyment of Ras is solely reposed within Krishna and takes no assistance from any other entity. So Krishna is just like self-satisfied. That's what the word Atma Rama means. The Atma Rama means to take pleasure in the self. And sometimes pure devotees are called Atma Ramas because they're taking pleasure in the super self, Krishna, not in their self separated from Krishna, or they're taking pleasure in the understanding that their self is connected with Krishna. They're a servant of Krishna. In the Pararamata aspect, Krishna exhibits the nature of enjoying rasa by the charming assistance of other entities. Just as Krishna's Atma Ramata aspect is eternal, so is his Pararamata aspect. So he has these two aspects. And one can worship Krishna in either of those aspects. Of course, I like the Pararamata aspect. The harmonious existence of these two opposing elements, inner self-satisfaction and assisted enjoyment, in the personality of God, Supreme Purusha, is his sole prerogative and natural for him. In one sense, everything is Krishna, because everything is an emanation or his energy. In another sense, everything's other than him is different from him. So that's Achincha Beta Beta Tatva. So in essence, they're not really opposing, but from the certain point of view, these are two opposing elements. The Krishna is self-satisfied, and the one who goes to his devotees for enjoyment. In his pastimes, Krishna manifests his Atma Ramata nature in one sphere of activity, while in another sphere he displays his Pararamata nature. The highest mood of the Pararamata nature is displayed in his pastimes of Parikiya Bhav. That means the mood or the emotion of unalloyed illicit life. For Krishna, Parikiya means with some girl he's not married to. Basically, what can I say? We don't imitate that because with us, as we've heard previously, that particular relationship in this world between two jiva souls is the lowest type of relationship, because it is the highest in the spiritual world. The reflection of it in this world, which is backwards and upside down, is the lowest. Parikiya Rasa is the wondrous, magnificent nectar produced when the Nayaka, hero, and Nayaka, heroine, are brought together by rag, that means spontaneous love, even though their mutual relationship is parabhav. In other words, the acceptance of one who belongs to another. So therefore, in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, you have Radharani ostensibly married to someone else. Actually, someone named Abhimanyu. That someone else is actually a particular type of expansion of Krishna, but still, you apparently have that to evoke this mood of, unalloyed, illicit love. Otherwise, there's no sneaking You know, a lot of these pastimes between Radha and Krishna involve sneaking around when no one's looking. And actually, you know, if someone's married, you don't have to sneak around when no one's looking. Because that's Swakiya relationship. But the Parakiya in this world is the most abominable. Rasa, the taste springs forth beginning from the Atma Rama feature, expanding upwards to the highest status of Parikiya Madhurya Ras. So in other words, you begin to taste spiritual ras, spiritual taste, beginning from the point where you worship God as great. And he's self-satisfied, doesn't need us. We need him, like that. Up to the point where God, in one sense, anchors, I hate to use the word needs, but he makes believe he needs his devotees or the interaction with his devotees in order to be happy. Thus, Atmaramata nature is at the bottom of the rasa barometer, or thermometer. When ras slides down to the bottom, it begins to dry out, and when ras moves upward in the direction of Parikiya Madhurya Ras, it gushes with exuberance. When Krishna is the transcendental Nayaka, means hero, how may Parikiya relationships be considered vile? Just like they're considered vile. That word was used previously to relate to the Parikiya relationships in this world. It's vile. Yuck. Vile means yuck. However, when the mortal conditioned jiva tries to play the role of Nayaka, the question arises whether his activities are moral or immoral. The mortal conditioned jiva. In other words, if you try to play the role of the hero, we can ask, is this moral or immoral? But in this case, within the mature world, the Parikiya Bhava is condemnable. The sages have therefore decided that a relationship between the mundane Paramor, who's that, Sergio de Bergerac or something like that, the mundane Paramor and his unchaste lady love is certainly illicit and despicable. Ooh. So don't read any of those novels. Srila Rupa Goswami writes that the Upapati concept in Alankara Shastra has been severely castigated, but I'll explain what this is. But this only applies to the mundane Nayaka. So Alankara is the Alankara Shastra, the books on poetry and drama. So when there's commentaries on these books of poetry and drama that describe illicit relationship between men and women, it's just castigated. It's not allowed in polite company. However, in today's world, it's extolled. You know, you go to the movies, it's all over the place, and whatever, you know, even the past, well, I won't mention names. Past president of the United States had so many illicit relationships. He's getting sued in court because of, you know, doing things with women that weren't his wives. And his adherents, the people who are voting for him, think nothing of it. They said, oh, it's fine. It's fine, you know, it's not my business what he's doing. And he's taking the position of leadership, and the problem with someone like that taking the position of leadership is yad yadachardi shreshtas tatat evektaro janaha. He sets an example for other people, and other people will follow that example. And he will lead everybody down a blind hole. Andar yatanda upaniyamanas. It's like the blind leading the blind. People don't understand that. You know, people will elect a leader and they'll say, well, his morality is not really important, his politics are. But his morality is more important than the politics, because his immorality will actually set a standard for the whole society. And that's really what's happening. The finger of accusation should never point at Krishna, because he is the repository of all transcendental rasa, and he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, above reproach. And actually, there's no question of Krishna having a relationship with someone else's wife. Why? Because everybody belongs to Krishna. The problem is that you think someone is your wife. That's the problem. And you're having a relationship with someone who belongs to Krishna. Vijay says, kindly explain the distinctive role of a pati. You know, a husband. Pati. Actually, the married lady should call their husband Pati Dave. Goswami said, a man who accepts a maiden's hand in marriage is her pati. Vijay says, kindly explain the distinctive roles of an upapati, male paramour. Paramour. It's one of the two words. Para, above. Amor means love. And a parakiya, female paramour. Goswami says, this is, of course, now we're talking about something that's transcendental. Hopefully. Oh no. Something in the material world. Any man who, because of intense love for a married or betrothed lady, trespasses all religious principles to win her love is an upapati. So we can say that past president of the United States is an upapati. A married woman who, by disregarding the nuptial vows, that means the marriage vows, ignores the religious edicts of heaven and earth, and surrenders to a man who is not her husband, is called a padakiya. Padakiya women are of two categories: kanya, unmarried, and paroda, married. So in other words, if someone has an illicit relationship, he has an illicit relationship with someone who's married or someone who's not married. Kanya, unmarried. Paroda, unmarried. Vijay says, what are the characteristics of the Swakiya ladies? That means those who are married. Goswami said, Swakiya women are married according to religious laws, are obedient to their husbands. It's not politically correct. And are fully dedicated to the religious institution of marriage. Vijay says, who are Krishna's Swakiya consorts and who are his Parakiya consorts? Here's the explanation. Goswami says his consorts in Dwarka, all of whom are married to him, are Swakiya, and his consorts in Braja are mostly Parakiya. Interesting, mostly. Of course, in Mathura, he does have one Parakiya relationship. That's with that nice lady, Kubja. Vijaya asks, what are the nuances and placements of these two categories of Krishna's consorts in his aprakrita lila, eternal unmanifest pastimes? That means the pastimes that are taking place right now, but they're not manifest. In other words, you can't see them, but they're there. Okay, that's a good way of saying it, unmanifest or prakrita. Goswami says, this is an extremely esoteric subject. You already know that Krishna's vibhuti, that means opulence, divine opulence, is divided into 4 parts. 3 parts are displayed in the spiritual world, and the remaining 1 part in the material world. So, in other words, 1/4 of the Lord's creation is this material world, which is a dark corner of the whole realm of the Lord's manifestations. This single part, the domain of the Maya Shakti, is where we are, manifests the entire material cosmos consisting of the 14 planetary systems. Between the material world on one side and the spiritual world on the other, a mass of water churns, known as the Viraja River. This is called the causal river. And this river is not ordinary water like we know it. You can't take a, let me take a glass of the Viraja. It's not like that. It's something far more subtle. It's a causal water, causal energy. The Chit Jagat, that means the spiritual world, is surrounded on all sides by the brilliant peripheral zone known as Brahma Dhamma. It means spiritual abode, beyond which in the Para Vyoma, the spiritual sky, the spiritual planets of Vaikuntha are situated. Vaikuntha is dominated by Aishvarya. Aishvarya means opulence. Now, Krishna Loka, or Krishna's abode, is dominated by Madhurya, sweetness. In Vaikuntha, Sri Narayan reigns, and Narayan is an expansion of Krishna, of course, and is reverentially worshipped as the Supreme Lord of Lords, embellished with divine attributes and served by countless servants. In Vaikuntha, that's the other part of the spiritual world, where everything's opulent. In Vaikuntha, Sri Narayan exhibits Swakiya rasa, means married relationship. Sri Devi, Bhudevi, Neela Devi are his Shaktis and wives who serve him as their husband in the Swakiya rasa. Above Vaikuntha lies Goloka. In Goloka, the gopis of Braj serve their beloved Krishna in their specific ras, which is conjugal ras. Vijay says, if Goloka is said to be Krishna's most elevated place of residence, why is Braj described as such a glorious and splendid place? This is interesting. Goswami answers, places such as Braj, Gokula, and Vrindavan are within the precincts of Sri Mathura Mandala. Nonetheless, Mathura Mandala and Goloka are on the same spiritual level. When the Dham principle is manifest as the highest abode in the spiritual sky, it is called Goloka. And when it is manifest on the material plane, it is known as Sri Mathura Mandala. Both are equally illustrious and transcendental. So the spiritual sky is Goloka Vrindavan, it's Mathura Mandala here, and within Mathura Mandala there's Braj. Vijay Kumar says, Gurudev, it is difficult for me to understand how this can be possible. Goswami answers, Krishna's achintya, inconceivable energy, makes it possible. That's why you can't understand it. It's achintya. The mysterious workings of his achintya shakti, inconceivable energy, are beyond the realm of logic, intellect, and the noumenal. Noumenal means things you can perceive, things of this world. The eternal abode known as Goloka Dhamma manifests within the material world as the stage for the Supreme Lord's Prakata Lila, materially manifest pastimes, and it is called Sri Mathura Dham. So in other words, the Sri Mathura Dham in this world has within it the Braj, which manifests, which is the stage where Krishna manifests his pastimes when it's the appropriate time, like once in a day of Lord Brahma. Otherwise, what's happening in Sri Mathura Dham, Braj within Sri Mathura Dham, is their pastimes are unmanifest. And his aprakata lila, that means unmanifest lila that is still taking place but you can't see it, transcendently unmanifest pastimes, the same eternal abode is known as Goloka Dham. Oh, that's another way of explaining aprakata lila. That we don't see what's going on in Goloka, but also even in Mathura Dham, this aprakata lila, which means we're not seeing what's happening. It's transcendental, and it's still a transcendental place. Krishna's transcendental pastimes are eternal. The devotee is qualified to perceive the state of Vishuddha Sattva can see Goloka. In fact, even while residing at Gokula within the material world, that's Mathura Mandala, qualified devotees have the vision of Goloka within Gokula. In other words, Goloka is manifest within Braj. if you have the vision. If you don't have the vision, it's aprakrita, it's not manifest. However, those jivas whose consciousness has been corrupted by the mundane nature cannot perceive Goloka at all. Although Gokula is non-different from Goloka, in other words, Krishna's abode in the material world is non-different from Goloka, the spiritual plane, mundane persons see Gokula as an ordinary place belonging to this material world. In fact, one of the reasons they see it as a material place is because Krishna has arranged for there to be a very thin covering of Yogamaya, which is called a veneer. Sometimes I say thin veneer, but people get upset when I say thin veneer. But a veneer can be thin, or a veneer can be a little thicker. Veneer means a covering, just like, I'll tell you what, I'll use a mundane example. Like if you have some furniture, a cheap furniture, it's made of chipwood, then you put some nice veneer on it so it looks like oak furniture. But it's not. The veneer looks like oak. Maybe the veneer is oak, but the furniture is just cheap, glued together wood. So Krishna, well, the Gokul, which actually has within it Goloka in this world, has a thin covering of Yogamaya to cover the abode. So basically, if you're not Krishna conscious, you're just going to go to Vrindavan, you're just going to see the monkeys, the dirt, the pigs, and think, how's this supposed to be spiritual? And the beggars and everything. Vijay says, what is the eligibility to see Goloka? How could one get that eligibility? Goswami says, Srila Shukadeva Goswami states in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:28, 14 to 15, Iti sanchincha bhagavan maha karuniko hari darshayam asalokam swam gopanam tamasa param. Thus, deeply considering the situation, the all-merciful Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Hari revealed to the coward men his abode, which is beyond the material. Atyam yanam anantam yad brahmajoti sanatanam yadi pashanti mudyo guna paye samakita. Shri Krishna revealed the indestructible spiritual effulgence which is unlimited, conscious, and eternal. Sages see that spiritual existence in trance when their consciousness is free of the modes of material nature. That's the point. You have to become free of the material modes of nature. My son, without Krishna's mercy, Goloka, this is of course Goswami speaking, my son, without Krishna's mercy, Goloka cannot be perceived. Krishna has shown the beauty and opulence of Goloka to the residents of Braj by his causeless mercy. Goloka is situated outside the jurisdiction of the mundane nature. And the varieties of existence displayed there are eternal realities, ever existent and a transcendental wonder. The Brahmajyoti is eternally manifest there as Krishna's physical aura. I don't know if the word physical is appropriate there, but it's Krishna's aura. It's a transcendental aura. It's physical. Anyway, usually you understand the word physical as meaning earth, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, the material elements. Devotees who are cleansed of material aberrations can perceive this magnificent vision. Okay. So, actually, just the verse in the Brahma Samhita that shows or says the same thing. Premanjana churita bhakti vilovachanena santakshadaiva hridiyeshu vilokyanti yam shaima shandar machincha guna swarupam govinda madi purisham tamaham bhajami. Those whose eyes are tinged with the salve of love of God are always seeing Krishna within their heart of hearts 24 hours a day, but that means always. So, with that in mind, we will stop sharing and allow you to ask your questions. Now, 1 second. Oh, right. So you can unmute yourself, or you can type in the chat window, or you can raise your hand. Does anyone have any questions about simple stuff that we read today? Questions, comments, arguments,
It's
problems?
my basic.
Okay, Mr. Gopal. So, what's the question?
You mentioned Abhimanyu, the so-called husband of Srimati Radharani, and that he is a special expansion of Krishna. Does he have his own tattva? Is he
No, no,
Jiva
no,
tattva,
no,
Vishnu
no. He doesn't
tattva,
have his
Shakti
own.
tattva?
He doesn't have his own tattva.
Okay, so is he Vishnu? If he's an expansion of Krishna, does that
I
make
don't
him
know. That's
Vishnu
not
tattva?
mentioned. I haven't read whether he's a Vishnu tattva or Jiva tattva, because there are
I see.
Jiva tattva expansions of Krishna, but
Yeah.
he and Krishna look very similar. That's why Krishna. There's stories that Krishna sometimes dresses as Abhimanyu, goes to Abhimanyu's house and talks to Abhimanyu's sister and mother, Jatila and Kutila, and he says, Krishna is coming dressed like me, so please shut the door and throw stones at him if he comes. So Krishna goes in, and the real Abhimanyu comes back, and the mother and the sister of the real Abhimanyu are throwing stones at Abhimanyu, thinking it's Krishna. So his
Thank you.
his outward appearance is very similar to Krishna's. I mean, you see that sometimes. I've seen people who look, you know, quite similar to the way Krishna would look. Actually, Lord Chaitanya one time spoke or met with the prince, King Prataparuja's son, and because it reminded him of Krishna, he was very ecstatic just to be with him. So sometimes you see people look, not completely like Krishna, obviously, but there's many similar characteristics in their bodies, almost in transcendental bodies. So Abhimanyu is something like that. As far as whether he's Vishnu Tattva or Jiva Tattva, whatever. But it's stated by the Acharyas he never comes close to Srimati Radharani. He's married to her. And he does all sorts of things to try to appease her, ingratiate her. Like one time he was bringing a lot of jewelry from Yashodamaya to give to his wife, Srimati Radharani, so that she would be pleased. So Yashodamaya was packing all these jewels in a box so that Abhimanyu could carry them to his wife. And what happened is that Krishna asked Yashodamaya, what do you put in the box? What's the box for? Who's it for? And Yashodamaya revealed to him what was happening. And Krishna said, oh, very nice. And then he waited until Yashodamaya left the room, took all the jewels out of the box, jumped into the box, and then later on Yashodamaya called for Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu brought the box back to his wife, Srimati Radharani, and said to Srimati Radharani, here's something to decorate yourself with. Please decorate yourself with whatever's in the box. And so he leaves the room, and out pops Krishna. And so Srimati Radharani says, I'm just following my husband's order. So anyway, there's so many exchanges like that. But in any case, Krishna and Abhimanyu, there's very similar features. Of course, Abhimanyu is not ultimately, let's say, as attractive as Krishna. No one is. So, who else has questions? Hrishikesh, you have a question.
Thank you, Gurudev. Can I ask something question which is not related to this class?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, we have this moon landing of India is landing their little thing on their moon tomorrow.
That's
How do
nice.
we understand this from Vedic perspective? Because moon planet is nowhere nearer to Earth like this. Uh, I
Uh,
just
Well, you want to get into the cosmology at this particular point? Um, okay, you asked for it. So, the moon planet is a heavenly planet according to the Vedic literatures, but the aspects of the heavenly planet are hidden from us, and the entities are hidden from us because it's a multidimensional universe. Uh, and so we're not able to perceive really what's happening on the moon planet. We're actually not even able to perceive everything that's happening right in this room or on this planet. I mean, there's many things happening. There's many like little tiny creatures, insects, bugs, or microbes that are here that I'm not able to perceive unless I have the right instruments. So, and there's also radio waves, whatever in this room, But I'm speaking, giving a metaphor using mundane examples or gross examples, so to speak. So there's things happening on different levels of existence. As far as the distance from the other question you may raise, is the distance between the moon and the earth as compared between the sun and the earth. And the Vedic description, as analyzed by my godbrother Sadaputa, that distance is calculated according to the distance from what they call the ecliptic, rather than the absolute distance between the moon and the sun and the moon and the moon and the earth, or I'm sorry, the moon and the earth, or the sun and the earth. It's a little bit more complicated than we have time to explain, but it has to do with distances from the ecliptic rather than the absolute distance from the earth. And so,
Yeah, landing in the moon planet, is it?
what's that?
Are they actually landing that craft in the moon planet or something, some other planet?
No, they're landing on the geographical location of where the moon planet is.
Okay.
They're definitely doing that, but they're not able to enter the atmosphere of the moon planet because there's something far more subtle that's happening there that they're not able to perceive. There's a lot of things we can't perceive in this world. Things more subtle, things more fine that we can't perceive in this world. There's different energies, and that's as far as I can explain it. But there are entities on the moon planet, but they're not going to see little green men or anything. Oh, that's Mars anyway, where there's green men. Mars has green men with antennas on this top. And the moon people, I don't know what the moon people would look like. No, that's a heavenly planet, obviously, and not green. It would be ugly to have green skin. Isn't it? Like someone's turning green. It's not a good sign. That means they're probably sick.
Lord Ram.
I know he's transcendental body, but in this world, if we see a green person, it's pretty. We take him to the hospital right away. So you mentioned the word Vishuddha Sattva during the class. How is it different from the Shuddha Sattva? Okay. That was yesterday's class. Okay. Shuddha Sattva means the material mode of goodness, which is mixed, which is actually Mishra Sattva, which is mixed with other modes. In other words, in the material world, the material Sattva has some passion and ignorance mixed in because it's based on selfishness. Like if we do something that's pleasing to us in the mode of goodness, we listen to some mode of goodness music, like some classical music or whatever. And I mentioned yesterday Ravi Shankar's sitar playing, like that. And we say, oh, how wonderful this is. And if it's not connected with Krishna, that's sattva, normal sattva. And it makes us peaceful. I used to listen to sitar music all the time before I came to Krishna consciousness. And it was just like, it put me in a very meditative state. And, peaceful state is better than something else, anyway. So, Vishuddha Sattva means no mixture with other modes. In other words, the Vishuddha Sattva is based simply on pleasing Krishna's senses. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktaruchate. That's Vishuddhasattva. That is the difference. Okay, we have to end now because it's time for Vishuddhasattva. Actually, there was a devotee in Venezuela who was working for our temple when I was temple president. His name was Vishuddhasattva. He's a professor. Okay, so that happy note, we'll see everybody tomorrow, same time, same station. All glories to His divine grace.